Okay, so I got one.
All right.
Okay, so I don't want to name any names, but one of my cousins, she was really into that yin yang, like like bad witch stuff.
Yeah.
Not like good witch stuff, but like bad witch stuff, right? When we were younger, me and my mom, we had moved in with my aunt, but it was her daughter that was into all that crap, And her house was pretty big, and I stayed in this like those older houses that have like two living rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the main living room, but then you have like that no one sits in.
It's just fancy.
Right. Okay. So I was sleeping in that room on the fold out little mattress thing.
For some reason, those type of living rooms kind of give me the creeps. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I was definitely freaked out. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was like my second night there. And I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, I keep hearing things in the living room. Like I hear people.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? I said, yeah.
Jeez.
And from where that little bitty living room where I was at to the actual living room, you had like these doors like this that slide open. You know what I mean? And on the inside where I was at, you can slide them and then you can lock them.
Yeah.
Okay. So like when I would hear these people, and I think I was like 6 at the time, I was like 6 or 7.
About the same time. What?
Yeah. So I was like 6 or 7, and I would tell my mom, I was like, I hear people in there, and she was like, no, I mean, you're just. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, this other night, I was hearing almost like a party. Like people were in there. I was like, what the heck? So in where I was staying at, you could actually go through into the kitchen and kind of go around to see the living room, right? And so I opened up the door real slow in the kitchen, and then I kind of went up there. But as soon as I opened the door, you couldn't hear nothing. But then I went back into the living room where I was sleeping at, and you could hear everything in the living room. But when you walked into the kitchen, there was nothing there. Like you couldn't hear. It was like almost like a dimension between the doors. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's weird.
It's weird. Like if we're in here, and let's say like the corner of my wall over there, you could walk into the kitchen.
It's like a section.
Yeah, it was a section. It was like a little door. You could walk into the kitchen, right? And you could hear people like on this side of the door, and you could see people. But then whenever you open up that door over there and you look that way, there's nothing there. It was like, it was like this. It was like a portal.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the heck?
That's crazy.
So I kept telling my mom about it. And time went on, and it happened like once a week, right? All right, well, this is really where it gets crazy. So my cousin, she was, I think, around like 17 at this time. Either 16, 17, something like that. She was, like I said, into that big yin-yang type thing, right? Well, she was telling me, she comes to me and she was like, hey, I know you're hearing things, and like my voice is cracking talking about it, bro. And this and that. And she goes,
She's like, my bad.
yeah, she goes,
Oh boy.
That's just my friends that I'm inviting. Pay no mind to them. And when you hear that as a little kid, you're thinking actual friends.
Yeah, people, but you don't see them. There's somebody there.
And yeah, there's no one there. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, they were scaring me. And she goes, no. You don't have nothing to be scared of. She was like, I'm inviting them in because I'm learning from them. And I'm like, okay. And you're 6, you don't know. You're just like, oh, okay. You're learning from your friends and you don't want me to tattletale on you. Like, that's pretty much what it was. And so I was like, all right, fine. And the next night, it was one person. And you heard like thumps, like, dude. Oh, hell no, dude. I was like, what the hell? And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, what's going on? And dude, it was to the point where like the sounds were scaring me. It was just like, doom, doom. Walker, because she had wooden floor in there. Yeah. And it like sounded like hooves. Like, oh, damn. Like hooves on wooden floor, like a horse.
Yeah.
Like without horseshoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doom, doom. Yeah. That's what it sounded like. And I was like, man, something is just not right, dude. And then all of a sudden, the doors that I locked the doors right here, right?
Yeah.
They start going,
oh, hell no.
Like that, like shaking, bro.
Nah,
and I was like, oh my got up. I ran through the kitchen room, and I just boo, boo, boo. I booked it to my mom where she was sleeping at in the other guest room. I booked it over there, man. I went in there. I was crying. I was like, Mom, there's something out there. There's something out there. She's like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And I told her, I was like, it sounds like something's out there. And like, she saw my face. I was pale. I'm going to do something again. Think about it, bro. And I was like, it's something there. It's something there. She's like, okay. And then she actually believed me because she saw my face and she saw how scared I was.
Yeah.
Come to find out that next morning, she talked to my aunt, which is her sister.
Yeah.
And she was like, what the hell is going on here? You know, what is, you know, I don't want to say her name. I keep trying to say her name, but I don't want to. She was telling my aunt, like my cousin, like, what the hell is she doing? Like, Tony's been hearing these things for the past week in the living room, and now he came in here. And eventually we found out that she was doing witchcraft and Ouija boards, and that she was trying to learn how to open up like portals. And that's what I was seeing and hearing, was she was opening up these different portals to like different events, because it sounded like an old school, like 1920s party. Like you kind of heard, that's what, you know, if you hear a 1920s party on a movie, like that's kind of what it sounded like. It didn't sound like, you know, rap music playing. It was like
the kind of classic,
like a classical turntable, like, you know, a record player.
People drinking.
Like people just drinking and chatting. Exactly.
I can picture it.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. And eventually we got my mom and us, we finally got out of there. And then come to find out, whatever she invited in, and I think it was, you know, the D word. And it ended up hurting her, clawing her back and stuff. And she told us this story that we were older, because I asked her about it. Now that we're older, I asked her, I said, hey, do you remember this? She was, oh, yeah. I said, you need to tell me what the hell was going on that day. Yeah. I was like, I was young, and dude, she told me everything. And she was saying, like, it got her, like, it kept stalking her at night, that it would sit right at the end of her doorway in her mom's room and just, like, breathe. Like, she said, like a bull. Jeez. And I was like, what the? She goes, yeah. She was like, eventually I couldn't sleep on my own. You know, I thought it was cool, this and that. She goes, and it was coming for me. And it kept saying these things, and it scarred me up. And like, she was showing me like these marks on her back, to where it, like, when she was sleeping, that she said it like grabbed her on the back and was like clawing her. And she has like these marks on her back, like physical marks now. I was like, oh, hell no, bro. People, they don't believe none of that, dude. You know, they don't believe anything like that. And people are like, what? You know, what's going on?
That's nuts.
Scary stuff, dude. I was like, hell no, dude. But she finally told me, like, I think she told me like 10 years ago. I was like 26 or something like that, and we were all drinking out, and, you know, we were tipsy.
Remember that one time?
Yeah, I said, hey, I got a bone to pick with you. You remember whenever I was little and this happened? Like, what the hell was going on over here, man?
People think kids don't remember, man.
Oh, I remember that.
I remember a lot of things, you know.